She was invisible, just another cadet no one noticed. No family name, no legacy. But when the sea turned wild and chaos swallowed the ship, a single voice rose above the storm. That day, an ordinary girl became the Iron Wolf, and nothing was the same again. The academy grounds stretched far under the morning sun, its iron gates glinting like the border of another world. Inside stood rows of gray stone buildings, neat lawns, and training fields that seemed endless. To most cadets, this place was a path to honor. To her, it was a storm waiting to swallow her whole. She was one cadet among hundreds. Nothing special. No family history. No father who had worn a uniform. No medals passed down as heirlooms. Her parents were simple people from a small town. They taught her honesty and hard work, but here that meant nothing. Legacy was the real currency. Each morning began with the clang of a bell at 5 a.m. She would jump from her bunk, feet hitting the cold floor. Her uniform had to be spotless, her boots shining like mirrors. Any mistake meant punishment. Laps around the yard, scrubbing the floors until her hands were raw, or endless drills. Discipline was the law, and there was no room for failure. While others moved with confidence, she felt invisible. Their surnames carried weight. Their family names were whispered with respect. She was just the girl from nowhere. No one looked twice. At night, when silence filled the dormitory, she stared at the ceiling. She wondered if she truly belonged. Could she ever be more than just another face in the crowd? Or would she train for years and vanish without leaving a trace? Yet doubt was only part of her story. Beneath it burned a quiet flame, a stubborn belief that maybe, just maybe, she was meant for more. The academy was built on tradition. Its halls were lined with portraits of admirals and captains, their stern faces frozen in time. Every ceremony reminded cadets that greatness wasn't created here. It was inherited. Her peers were proud of this legacy. They spoke of fathers who commanded fleets and grandfathers who fought wars. One cadet displayed a silver medallion passed down through 3 generations. She had no such heirlooms, only notebooks filled with furious scribbles of strategy and history. In class, she leaned forward, hungry to learn. She memorized maps, traced old battles, and analyzed tactics late into the night. Others mocked her intensity. "Calm down, cadet," they sneered. "You're not going to be an admiral overnight." Their laughter stung, but she said nothing. It wasn't just a battle of drills and exams. It was the quiet war of belonging. She felt it every day in the whispers, in the way instructors measured her against others. "You lack presence," one officer told her coldly. "Leadership requires bloodline. Prove you deserve to be here." The words lodged deep, they hurt, but instead of breaking, they hardened her resolve. She ran harder during endurance tests, refusing to collapse when others gave up. She pushed herself through mud during survival drills, her mind whispering. One day, in the library, she searched for forgotten names, ordinary sailors who had risen to greatness. She clung to their stories like lifelines. Tradition told her she didn't belong. She whispered back, "Perhaps tradition is not only inherited. Perhaps it can be built." The test came one gray afternoon. It was the storm simulation, infamous among cadets. A giant chamber was built to mimic the chaos of a ship caught at sea. Alarms blared, screens flashed with images of towering waves, and the deck tilted violently. She stood at her console, heart pounding. Around her, cadets shouted conflicting orders. "Stabilize course." "No, secure the engines." Panic spread like wildfire. The simulated ship pitched harder. It was collapsing into chaos, and then something happened. She stepped forward. Her voice, steady and sharp, cut through the noise. "Engine room first. Stabilize power, then steer into the waves. If engines fail, we lose everything." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then instinctively, they obeyed. The ship steadied. Alarms faded one by one. The simulation ended in silence. No medals were given. No recognition. Some cadets muttered it was luck, but she knew better. For the first time, she had not been invisible. She had led. That night, lying in her bunk, she whispered into the dark, "One day they will know my name." She did not know that someone had been watching. From the observation deck above the chamber, the admiral himself had seen it all. He rarely attended cadet tests, but that day he had stopped to observe. He had seen many heirs of powerful families crumble in the storm. But this nameless cadet had acted with clarity and instinct. It stayed with him. Days later, during inspection, the admiral appeared. His presence silenced the yard. He walked the rows of cadets, his gaze sharp as steel. When he stopped in front of her, her heart froze. "You," he said. "Yes, Admiral." "I watched the storm," he murmured. His words struck like thunder. "You acted when others froze. Instinct cannot be taught. Do not waste it." Then he moved on, leaving her stunned, his voice echoing in her mind. "Do not waste it." From that moment, she was no longer invisible. One morning, she was summoned to the Admiral's office. The long hall leading to his door was lined with history, flags, medals, photographs. Each one reminded her of how small she was. Inside, the Admiral stood by the window, the sea raging beyond. He studied her silently before speaking. "You are not like the others," he said. "You carry no legacy. Yet in chaos you acted. Others wait for orders. You gave them. That matters." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small worn notebook. Inside it were call signs, names given only to those who had proven themselves. "From today," he said firmly, "you are Iron Wolf." The name struck her like lightning. For so long she had been invisible. Now she was given an identity heavy with expectation. "Do you understand the weight of this?" the Admiral asked. She swallowed hard. "I think so, sir." "No," he said. "Not yet. But you will." His final words were simple. "Iron Wolf, stand by." Soon after, cadets boarded a training vessel for an overnight voyage. Spirits were high until dark clouds rolled in. Within hours, the sea turned violent. Lightning cracked. Waves slammed the ship. Engines failed. Alarms screamed. Fear spread. She heard the Admiral's words in her memory. "Stand by." Gripping the rail, she shouted, "Power to engines first. Adjust heading 30 degrees into the wave. Don't fight it, ride it." This time, cadets obeyed without hesitation. She led them below deck, battling smoke and sparks to restore power. The engines roared weakly back to life. Slowly, painfully, the vessel stabilized. By dawn, the storm faded. The ship was battered but afloat. No speeches were made. No medals given. But every cadet knew who had led them through the night. The name Iron Wolf spread through the academy like fire. Recognition brought new weight. Some cadets respected her. Others grew bitter with jealousy. But two stood by her. Daniels, a proud cadet from a decorated family, and Alvarez, a sharp, quick-thinking outsider like her. Together, they formed an unlikely bond. Their greatest test came during a night watch on a larger vessel. A fire erupted below deck. Flames tore through corridors. Smoke filled the air. Through the haze, she saw a cadet trapped under a fallen beam. Without hesitation, she ran forward. Daniels joined her, straining to lift the beam. Alvarez dragged the cadet to safety as the fire roared. When they collapsed on deck, gasping for breath, Daniels muttered, "You're insane. But you don't break. Iron Wolf." That night, she realized her name wasn't just about storms. It was about sacrifice. Months later, during a coastal patrol mission, a distress call came. A fishing boat had lost power near dangerous cliffs. A storm battered the sea. The ship raced to respond, but time was short. The civilian vessel was minutes from destruction. "Sir, angle port 30 degrees and drop rescue lines now," she shouted. The captain hesitated, then obeyed. Ropes were thrown, but one by one they snapped. Without thinking, she clipped herself into a harness and went over the rail into the raging sea. Waves swallowed her, but she pressed forward, securing ropes around terrified fishermen. One by one, they were hauled to safety. At the last moment, as the boat splintered apart, she leapt for the line. Daniels and Alvarez pulled her back aboard, drenched and shaking but alive. When they docked, the academy knew. Iron Wolf was no longer a whisper. She was a name carried with respect. The Admiral summoned her once more. "You went into the water," he said. "Reckless." "Necessary," she answered. For a long moment he was silent. Then a rare smile touched his lips. "You remind me of myself. Too fierce to stand idle. That is why you will go farther than most." He stepped closer. "Remember this. A wolf is never alone. Bonds will keep you alive when iron breaks." That night, standing under the stars with Daniels and Alvarez beside her, she finally understood. Iron Wolf was no longer just a call sign. It was a legacy, a promise, a vow to stand by when storms came, when fire raged, when hope faltered. She had begun as an invisible cadet. She had been tested and tempered. And now she was Iron Wolf, the one who stood firm when others could not.